How's it going, everyone? In this video, I'm gonna be talking about the real reason why people grind their teeth at night. And, I think intuitively, the answer that we all have is that it's because you're stressed, and somehow it's like your unconscious or, non-conscious self is clenching its teeth because you're worrying about something or anxiety. And that's kind of the answer they tell you is like, you just gotta be less stressed. And the solution here is to just give you some kind of mouth guard to protect your teeth so that, when you do grind your teeth, you'll be protecting it so you're not, destroying your teeth prematurely. So that's, I think, the common accepted answer. But what I learned yesterday from speaking with a dentist is that it's actually a lot more interesting than that. So the reason why you are moving your teeth, your jaw, either side to side or forwards and backwards, is that by doing so, you are moving your tongue. And the reason why it's important to move your tongue is that while you're asleep, your tongue relaxes. Your tongue is this big, huge muscle that connects, under your jaw. And when you are laying back like this, your tongue sitting in your jaw obstructs the airway. And it will obstruct the airway even more if you're in that supine position, the straight on your back, just looking straight up. That's the worst position you can be in when you're asleep, because that is, when you actually fall asleep, the position in which the tongue will obstruct your airway, make it very hard to breathe, and leads to snoring and hypoxia, which is low blood oxygen levels, which is damaging to your body, and it reduces the quality of your sleep a lot. So basically, when people are clenching their teeth, they're either doing it a side-to-side motion or a forwards and backwards motion, but that jaw, which holds the tongue in it, is trying to move the tongue from side to side or forward to try to get that airway, which is covered by the tongue, a little bit of gap so you can get some air in. So when you look at it like that, it starts making a lot more sense as to why it helps. And so, if you are someone who does snore like me or other people, being able to sleep on your side is a great way to help mitigate this, because when you're on your side, your tongue isn't as directly going to obstruct the airway. It doesn't matter if you're left or right sided, but as long as you're on your side, it's a far better sleeping position to minimize the risk of obstructing that airway, of basically starving your body of oxygen. So really important thing to note there. The other thing to note here is that when you are getting a mouth guard, if the mouth guard is something that goes on the lower teeth, this is the jaw, and then this is the skull, so the upper teeth are connected to your skull, the lower teeth are connected to that jaw that can move. If you are putting a lower mouth guard on, it can honestly sometimes make things even worse, because even though you're trying to protect your teeth from the clenching and the grinding, the issue is that by having an additional thing in the way, so you're basically got that jaw, which is like this bucket, and then you put another thing on top of it, you're giving your tongue even less space. And so you're pushing that tongue even farther back, obstructing the airway even more by having that lower mouth guard. So ideally, what you do, if you are someone who purely has just teeth grinding and no other issues like TMD or temporal mandibular joint disorders, or symptoms where it's like very painful to chew or to open your mouth, if you're not having that, it's far better to have a mouth guard on the top of your teeth, the top teeth, because you're still giving the tongue on the lower part in the jaw as much area as it can have, so that it doesn't have to go back into the throat and obstruct your airway. Another thing to call out, and it is very important to look at these things, is that the arch of your teeth, if you were looking at a top-down view of the jaw, you would see that your teeth form a little kind of parabola-like shape. And so people's parabolas are going to have different thicknesses. It can be very narrow or very wide. And so for people who have narrower than normal arches in those teeth, it's a problem, because just staying to this analogy that jaw is like this little channel that your tongue sits in. If you make that channel smaller, then the tongue has to kind of slide back. And as it slides back, it's going to obstruct this airway. So if you are someone who has narrower than normal arch in your jaw with your teeth, that is something else that is something to consider for how do you improve your sleep quality, because when you're unconscious, that tongue has to go somewhere, and you don't have the luxury of being awake to, when we're awake, people usually hunch their head forward a little bit, and that is to help prop and just let the gravity hold that tongue away from obstructing this airway. So very, very important stuff to think about. Another thing to think about is that you have your skull. So if we're looking at a side view of someone's head, and you have anterior and posterior, would be these two directions that we care about right now. But when you have the skull and the front teeth right here that are connected to the skull, and then you have the lower teeth connected to the jaw, is that your front teeth will be here, and then your rear teeth, or the lower teeth on your jaw, are going to be here. And so there's a normal position to have, and then there's people who have jaws that are slightly farther back than they should be. And so again, if your jaw is slightly posterior, even a little bit, it can make a big difference in how much room there is for the tongue that is sitting right there to have for where that air is going to make its way through into your lungs. So that is a lot of stuff that I learned very recently that I thought I'd share with people, because I think it is very easy to just have a healthcare professional tell you that what you're having isn't actually a problem, it's just you stressing out. Instead, there's some physiology at here that plays a significant role in terms of whether or not you're sleeping, whether or not you're getting good sleep quality. And so just wanted to share that with everyone. So hope this is helpful stuff. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope everyone out there is doing well.